cable wasn't plugged in all the way. So I was saying how what you didn't hear was how I used to observe that often when devotees chanted, they were kind of chanting mindlessly, like they weren't really connected to what they're doing. It's kind of like they say in the corporate world that most people, when they go to work, they're not really present to their work. They don't want to be there and they don't want to do what they're doing. And they use the word engaged. And so they say that like 70% of the people who work are not engaged. Doesn't mean they're not doing anything. It just means their heart's not into it. So they say they're not engaged. That's how they use that word. So I was noticing a lot of devotees were chanting, but they were not engaged. It's like they didn't want to be chanting. So they were doing it because they knew it was the right thing to do, but it was being done a little mindlessly. And so I had contemplated this, and I thought, well, this is kind of a mechanical way of chanting. And later I heard Prabhupada, he also mentioned that. Don't chant mechanically. And mechanically could be also, a synonym could be robotically, going through the motions without consciousness. It's kind of like sometimes we have family members and we don't feel a lot of affection for them, cousins, uncles, for whatever reason. We may not feel so much affection, but when you go to the family gathering, you have to at least fake like you do. Otherwise, it would be impolite, unkind, and so forth. So we don't want that relationship with the holy name, like a family member that we don't like, but we're just engaging anyway. And the heart's not there, the mind's not there. So I was once reading Bhaktivinoda Thakur, probably Harinam Chintamani, and he was saying that when we chant, we should meditate on the meanings of the holy name. And so when I heard that, I thought, well, if you meditate on the meaning, you're counteracting mindlessness. That's mindfulness, because now you're present to what it means. It would kind of be like, let's say, a big event is happening in your life, and for you, it doesn't mean anything. You're graduating university, PhD, number one in your class, and your parents say, aren't you excited? And you say, no. And then you say, if it was up to me, I wouldn't even go to the graduation. It's like it has no meaning for you. You don't take it seriously. For you, this education wasn't important, and so forth. It's a kind of a mindless. You're going there, and you're not at all connected with what it means. For the other students, it may mean a lot. For you, it means nothing. So sometimes we're chanting, and we disconnect from what the holy name means. And specifically, not just intellectually, not the intellectual meaning, but the mood and the emotion that's expressed through the holy name. Now, if you study everything Prabhupada said about what the holy name means, and if you study what the other acharyas have said the holy name means to them, you will see that it's not an intellectual definition, it's actually an emotional definition. Because when they list what it means, they're listing prayers. They're not listing the holy name. It's not like Nam Tattva. What does the holy name mean to you? And then you give some Tattva. The holy name is this, the holy name is that. In the acharyas describing what the holy name meant, there was not Tattva, it was emotion, it was prayer. What does the holy name mean to you? It means, Krishna, please, blank, blank, blank. And so they would express it that way. So you may remember in Prabhupada's, isn't it in that talk he said, enter into the meaning? Or is that in his talk on the holy name? We should enter into the meaning of the mantra. Or is that was that when he gave his purport to Brahma Samhita? Enter into the meaning of the mantra, or the mood. Yeah, the mood of the mantra. Was it the meaning or the mood? I think it's the mood. Enter into the mood. So, anyway, when Prabhupada was speaking on Brahma Samhita, then he said, we should enter into the mood. Like, what's the mood? Right, so the mood, the meaning, the significance, what's the mood? The mood is the emotion. What are you what do you express when you say this prayer? What do you feel when you say this prayer? So we could definitely apply that to the chanting. What are you expressing? What are you feeling? And so now Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said something very interesting. It was in regard to the committing the 10 offenses, but I think we could also sort of apply this in some aspects. He said, if you commit the 10 offenses and you chant 100 rounds a day of Nam Aparad, you will make no advancement. That's interesting. You would think 100 rounds, you might make some advancement. If you're committing Nam Aparad, you don't make any advancement. So I'm not saying that you are committing Nam Aparad, but I'm saying if one is so out of alignment with the mood and meaning and feeling, emotion of the holy name, it's possible that one could be chanting continuously and not really moving forward. So I think that's the significance of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's statement. One should meditate on the meanings of the holy name. Another time I read a statement which I really liked, that when you're doing japa, it's a similar statement, just approaching it in a different way. When you're doing japa, sometimes you want to ask yourself, what am I trying to accomplish? What am I doing right now? Because I think a lot of times, if you ask yourself that question, you realize I totally forgot what I was doing. Isn't it? Sometimes. Like, what am I doing now? What am I trying to, I'm chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, and I'm thinking, okay, later I have to do this, and then I bought that, and I have to return this, and then I'm going to make that call, and then you just stop and say, what am I trying to accomplish right now? What am I doing? And you realize I've lost connection with what the holy name means. So it's a nice question to ask yourself. What am I trying to accomplish right now? What am I trying to do? Because I'm definitely not trying to accomplish working out my to-do list that I could do later. Although some people say, oh, I get very creative when I chant and I figure so many things out. That's fine. Figure them out later. And then Prabhupada said something. This is so interesting. And I don't know if many devotees hear this. Now, the typical thing that most devotees will say, most teachers of the holy name will say, Prabhupada said you should hear the holy name. And I say, well, you should enter into the meaning. And then they get all confused. Well, wait, Prabhupada said you should hear. And you're saying you should feel, you should pray, and I just try to hear. There's a lot that could be said about that. But I just want to say one thing because it's so interesting. Prabhupada said, when you chant, you should be meditating on the Leelas of Krishna. And if you can't, then you can just hear. Isn't that interesting? That's like, okay, if you can't take it to the higher level, then at least take it to the mechanical level, so at least your mind doesn't go. So I would say this is like base ground level. And then the prayer, the feeling and emotion is higher. And then you enter the Leela. And then you meditate on the Leela, it's higher. And then the highest stages, you stop meditating on the Leela and you're actually in the Leela. Which is interesting also. I'm looking at the Leela when I chant, I'm on a very high level. Yeah, knock it up one notch, you won't be looking at it, you'll be in it. And sometimes the acharyas, they make commentaries about what's happening in Leela. And the devotees say, how do they know that? It's not even in the Bhagavatam, it's nowhere. I say, well, they were there. They're just describing, what they saw in their meditation. They were there, and, So, Hare Krishna. Okay, everyone, we're going to chant for a little while. So, now you might say, oh, Mahatma Prabhu, you didn't even tell me those meanings of the acharyas. And sometimes I don't like to tell those meanings because then I say, okay, you can enter into what it means for you today, right now. Like, what do you need to pray for? Rabindra Prabhu once said, he said, sometimes when I chant japa, I visualize a laser gun and I take the laser and I say, Krishna, you see that anartha? Can you explode that one? And then I take the laser on the next anartha. I say, Hare Krishna, this anartha, can you bomb it? Because he comes from a military family, so he's got that analogy. You know, the laser's there and they drop the bomb. So I have the laser on my anarthas. You can drop the bomb on my anartha. So something like that. That's not the only thing, but that's one thing. So according to your need or your prayer, your desire, empowerment, purification, whatever you need. As Vaisheshika Prabhu said, when people ask, what does this mantra mean? He says, this mantra means, I need help. Then he asks them, do you need help? They say, yes. Yes, I need help. Wow. Change of weather has healed the harmonium. Almost. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Utale Simate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaya Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Shunyavadi Asyacha Disatari Jai Prabhupada. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Gunithananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktavinda Shri Chaitanya Gunithananda Krishna Chaitanya Gunithananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Bhaktavinda Prabhupada Shri Advaita Gadadhara Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Godhadhara Shivasavi Bhakta Vrinda Chaitanya Gauranga Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Govinda, Tananda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Lord Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Gaur Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Lord Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Gauranga Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, One more time together, everyone. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Go Premanand. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanand. Do you know how to turn it off? Is that on the bottom right? It says finish or something.